Welcome. Good afternoon here. WIAA football preview show here from the Racine Public Library in Racine, Wisconsin. Excited to be with you all this afternoon. It's going to be a fun, fantastic, fun time here. Unfortunately, we couldn't stream to X like we originally wanted to. Probably would have gotten a lot more viewers if we could have. And, we had to have a premium account and all that kind of stuff. It's just ridiculous. Last year when we did this, we didn't have to, so kind of a bummer now. We're probably going to have to do it this way now.
Probably changed it right when they changed the name to X.
So let's get started today. So we're no longer coming up. I already forgot to do one thing. So welcome to the WIA football preview show. Here pretty much right on the shore of Lake Michigan's right across the way, right outside of here, right Pershing Park right over there. Some fun talking this afternoon. So first of all, we're going to go to one hot topic that's been going on in WIAA football. By the way, Matt Peck and Elijah Vangsoulatda here. We're going to be going to one hot topic that everyone's been talking about. Feel free to leave a comment as well if you guys want us to talk about something. I can see on this end, I believe. Yes. So if you leave a comment, I can see what you are writing to us on that end, what you want us to talk about. All right. So one hot topic we're going to talk about first is who got screwed in the seeding process. Oof. There's been a lot of that over the last few years that we want to talk about. But one that sticks out in specifics to me, and this is going to become quite familiar to us come Friday evening. Let's just see. You never thought that you'd be in this situation looking at this. How do I get this to share here? Okay, there we go.
I got something to add on to that, too, after you go.
Bang. Let me scroll that down a little bit more.
There you go.
All right. Who in the world ever would have thought that the Oconomowoc Raccoons that won the Classic A conference would end up with a 6th seed? Racine case, I'm not saying I think they deserve a 3rd seed, honestly, but I think Oconomowoc should have been the 2 or the 1 seed. That's what they should have done. I'm just very questionable about that. I mean, that doesn't sit well. I mean, those are 2 good teams going at it with the defense. Let's not talk about this game too much now because this is our game of the week, and we're going to talk about it later.
At the end.
Yeah. So this is our game that's going to be on Zaleski Sports this week. So we'll talk about this game later. But that's one team that I noticed as well. Let me unshare this. And I'm going to scroll around here and figure out who I think got screwed as well.
Well, before we go past that, let me add some thoughts to that first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you could have kept that up, but just number 4 seed Muskego. I mean, they got a higher seed than Oconomowoc, which in my opinion, nothing against Muskego. They're a heck of a team still, and I know they went through injuries and all, but I think Oconomowoc outplayed them this year, fair and square, and I think they could have even taken a higher seed than them. So in my eyes, it didn't really make sense why they did that.
All right, staying in Division 1, we're going to go with another one kind of to the north of here.
Some Jason and their teams up there.
Yeah, that's a little bit questionable. I mean, didn't DC Everest win their conference?
Yeah, they did.
So Athletic Rankings comes across and talks about Oconomowoc, like we just said. That is definitely one that we were talking about. That is just, very, very questionable. And you say to yourself, how in the world did that happen? And I don't know. I mean, I think there's just some issues with the computers up there. I mean, not saying every seed was wrong because there's some teams that were very well deserving of their seeds, but the coaches association voted on that kind of formula. So I'm not going to sit here and blame WIA, but
I still think in a way
who's on charge of all that. But
they got to have people start. What am I trying to say? They got to have people like a poll starting to make these brackets. You can't just have the computer make the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because if the way they drew this out makes it seem like they did a lottery, the draft lottery where they put all the balls inside it, and then each team technically has a chance to make it. Yeah. It's like they did that for the seeds. Like Muskego somehow drew a higher seed than Oconomowoc.
Yeah.
Not saying anything bad about it, like I said earlier, but
yeah, I mean, there's just some issues there. I mean, there's nothing I could do about it, but. There's some teams that are deserving a higher seed, but after all, you're going to have to go out and play the game this Friday, no matter where you're playing.
Let's go to Sports 101 dailies.
We'll show it right now. Right after I get to it, let's see.
Division 2.
It's Division 2, yes, and that is in the corner here. This team that
just had them on last Friday. Yep.
Just had them on last week. Let's pull them up here. They're a team that you could say got screwed in the seeding process as well. I would say yes. Let's just give it a Germantown. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they would be a 7 seed. I mean, considering that Zaleski Sports had them as a number 1 going into the Hamilton game,
I
and
think
they
it was
lost.
either 1 or 2, but it was
Yeah.
one of them. But
Yeah, but to drop 5 spots just from 1 loss, I mean, I could see if Hamilton was like 1 or 2 win team. Yeah, maybe, but not from going 7. Yeah, that's a little bit. Cedarburg's a really good team as well, though. They're well deserving of that 2 seed, in my opinion. That's one team that I think showed a lot of teams who they were this year, that they're a lot better of a team overall. I mean, that's one team that we were possibly going to see last week. It was either between Hamilton, Germantown, which we did, or else Slinger and Cedarburg. But Slinger and Cedarburg came across to be after all. Anyways, go ahead.
Something that didn't make sense about their bracket was how good of a schedule Germantown still played out to finish with a 7 seed.
Greater Metro, yeah. I mean, that's a good conference.
They beat Muskego 3-0. I know, like I said, Muskego is banged up, but at the same time, their defense looked pretty good still. They played a really good game defensively against them. I mean, obviously, Marquette's probably the biggest team out of the Greater Metro. They got blown out there, but the game that really killed it all was Sussex Hamilton last weekend when they just looked flat. I'll tell you guys that, but hopefully for them, they could bounce back, but they're going to have to go on the road for most of the playoffs.
Yeah, looking across here, we're going to find one more that I was just very, very confused with, and this team come up. No, there's actually 2 more I want to go over real quick. One of them was in Division 2 here as well, and the other one's in Division 3. Second of all, I want to talk about this very, very good Beaver Dam team as well this year. I think they won their conference. ESPN Beaver Dam was talking about it. And I believe this Beaver Dam team won their conference this year. And then I think they were at a harder conference. And they moved over. I'm not sure. That's a little bit north of our area. But all I got to say is they got a 5 seed. I think they finished like 8-1 or 7-2.
Let's see.
Yeah, you got it. So they finished like 8-1 or 7-2, but they're sitting at the 5 seed. But in some brackets,
8-1, yeah.
8-1. Wow. And they got the 5 seed, and they're going on the road. Another team who thought they probably would not go on the road during the postseason was Beaver Dam. And you think to yourself, yeah, they moved conferences and all, which I'm not sure which conference they were in originally, but they moved conferences. All I know is this was a big one that people were talking about. Let's see here. One more here. And this one makes kind of absolutely no sense to me. Once we get there, scrolling down here. Yeah, here we go. And when you see the team, you're going to be like, this team's actually pretty good. We're talking about the Panthers of Greendale. The Panthers of Greendale are going to go on the road their first game. They didn't win. They're not a conference winner, and they lost a couple of games on the stretch. They're going to go on the road to Obama High School in Milwaukee. So that's an interesting one. Although Greendale lost to Whitnall last week, Whitnall's a good team this year as well, so that might have hurt them along the process. And I think Greendale lost to Wisconsin Lutheran, so there's no. I mean, this isn't as big as like Oconomowoc, for example, but Greendale's going to win this game. I'm pretty dang sure they're going to win this game. I mean, if they don't,
they beat Milwaukee Lutheran earlier this year, 35-0.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much.
Yeah.
Their schedule looked pretty interesting, though. They lost their opener to the reigning D2 champions Badger 27-17. Then they went on to win their next 5 straight games in a conference stretch, and then they lost their last 2 against arguably 2 really good teams, including a surprise in the reigning champion. Wait, did they win the champion? No, they didn't. Grafton didn't win.
No,
they lost for runner-ups. And then Whitnall's surprise team this year.
Mm-hmm. Whitnall's looking better, like the Joel Stave days when he played for Whitnall. Okay.
Badger legend.
Yeah, Badger legend. Well, other than not being able to get out of the pocket. Otherwise, he wasn't too
still.
bad.
I need to remember.
Let's see here. Let's move on. We talked about who got screwed at seating process, and there's a lot of things there's a lot of MPS schools in there. Let's read over some of the comments that I put on Twitter. There's a lot of people talking about this. It brought up concerns to me, and there were a couple of good ones. I thought, I'm like, you know what? He's got a point. Sports 101 Daily said, we can have the same teams have easy paths to the playoffs, Marquette and Wanakee, which, when you look at that side, you can understand what he's talking about. Brackets are usually stacked and made more difficult for certain teams. Yeah. I mean, you look at the side Franklin and Kimberly are on, and Nina and Oak Creek, Muskego, all those teams on that side. It's a little bit more difficult than the side that want to see.
Looks like one side is like the powerhouse side, and then the other side is just, I'm not saying like that other side is really bad, but it's like an easy path for some teams.
I could give it to Lawrence Calais. He made a whole list here, which is actually, I read through this list. This is really good. He goes, let the computer do the initial seating. Not a bad idea. And it says, then have a human being adjust the seatings. Like, have a computer do the seating, then have the coaches come sit in the room and see what the computer did. And they adjust it. Like, basically, why I think a lot of times the coaches don't do seatings no more? For example, like during baseball, I've heard stories of, coaches not wanting to leave the room until they get the seat they want. They're sitting there, like, say they think they deserve a 1 seat. You're sitting there arguing with each other. No, I deserve the 1 seat. No, you deserve the 1 seat. And then all hell breaks loose. I mean, that makes a lot of sense why they don't do it. But in a way, I wish they would let the humans, because it would be kind of entertaining to watch, go in a room and say, why did you think that you should get the 1 seat?
Another thing, too, is that Lawrence Calais put up was should not have 5 teams from the same conference and an 8-team grouping. You got to kind of look at it like
Southeast.
I'll look at it like the bracket with Franklin then. They're 1 seed, and you got the Fox Valley in there, you got the Classic 8, and you got the Southeast Conference in there. It's a good mix, but for regional purposes, I don't think it's probably the right decision.
Yeah. So now we're gonna move on out of the seating stuff. We're gonna talk about something that everyone's like just up in flames about, especially kind of, let's say that's probably what, Western Milwaukee County. I mean, I can get why there's one school's upset. There's a school in the Madison area that's getting screwed by this too. What is going on with this WIAA tiebreaker controversy? Who was left out? So we're going to look at the recent Journal Sentinel article, and we're going to talk, there's a W playoff qualification bubble, and there's like some tiebreaker proceedings that were involved here. So 2 teams that were left out that technically should have been in the playoffs by many different sources was the Greenfield Hustlin' Hawks and Madison West. Specifically, Greenfield we're going to talk about because they got the press with them yesterday. Greenfield's AD was interviewed as well about this, and it's just a tough situation because when you read the article Journal Sentinel, Kurt Hogg and Zach Bellman put out, you read this and you find out Greenfield should be in the playoffs right now. Pewaukee and Edgewood should technically be out. Even though Pewaukee's in a different division, they're in Division 3.
They're in a hell of a conference, so I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they're in a hell of a conference. But according to this tiebreaker, Greenfield and Madison West matched up with a 3-18 counting conference games only in the records, and then Pewaukee and Edgewood have been 2-19. So that's where that came from. I don't really know a lot about that rule. That's why I'm kind of confused on what that means. But a lot of people are saying that Greenfield should be in, and by reading this, it sounds like that yes, they should be in because just the way that the WIA has it laid out and they're like, their laws. Oh yeah, this is what we use for the tiebreakers for that they should be in. It says in this case, both teams would have the edge via step 3 of the tiebreakers. So and as I heard, what I've heard is that WIA never reached back to Greenfield High School about this whole thing.
Should I at least give him a chance?
But then Todd Clark of the WIA did say something, though. The staff consistently applied the overall combined won-loss percentage of the only conference opponents they defeated, and these were added to the playoff field. Qualifying and seeding criteria has been developed with the football coaches. The football coaches advisory committee meets after each season and may review and recommend changes to the criteria at that time. All I got to say is there's going to be a lot of damn changes after this year. And then there was an error as well in the 8-player bracket, which I got the email about, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't really know who those schools are, but I'm like, an error that was made, I guess. But when this all comes out, and some kids who are seniors, especially on the Madison West and Greenfield team, that's not a way you want to end. But if you were a senior on the Pewaukee team and say you got pulled out at the last minute as well, you'd feel the same way. So there's many bad situations that you look at and you think to yourself, my goodness, this is just insanity what's going on here. And then it doesn't sound like Greenfield was pursuing an appeal according to the Journal Sentinel. By the way, all this is coming from the Journal Sentinel. Nina Rousey, the athletic director at Greenfield, said it's more of a clarification. She told the Journal Sentinel yesterday. So kind of like to know why are we not in and kind of like looking forward towards the future here. So yeah, that's just a very tricky situation. And that's Tuesday now. I don't think anything's going to be done about it. I'm not sure if Greenfield even got a message back about it, which is kind of sad in my opinion to not even get a message back. It's like, just at least tell them, oh, we can't do that. Here's why, and here's how we can fix it for next time. Nope, don't even message them back.
That's why I think they got to have a playoff committee next year.
Yeah, wouldn't be a bad idea. But anyways, that's what's going on with a local team, Greenfield, and Madison West as well, who's in the Madison area. Just a bad way to end your year. And I mean, when you're technically supposed to be in, although
I think you got to feel most for the seniors too, because
Yeah.
they work hard all summer. They keep playing hard, and then just for it to get cut off by like the playoff committee and all that, or the seedings and all.
yeah, there's a lot of things going on there that might be under the bus. We don't know. I'm not going to say that there is. I'm not going to start anything, but
Yeah.
I have no clue. But anyways, let's move on here. We're going to go on to something that is very bad for other athletes. Stay in Milwaukee County once. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
What in the world is going on at NPS? This is just a bad situation here. I mean, I just can't believe this, what happened. So there's a thing that goes on in NPS, I think, is if you finish last in the conference, you get moved over to the other division that they have in NPS. So whoever the district athletic director is, totally messed up. I don't think they're taking any accountability for it. Is they forgot to turn in the paperwork. All you gotta do is fill out paperwork, and most of the time the WIAA approves it, from what I heard. You fill out the paperwork, you turn in the WIAA. They forgot to do that, and I don't know if they're denying it or what's going on there, but all I know is a lot of athletes are going to be missing. It's Milwaukee Pulaski and Milwaukee Bayview. They had to forfeit the rest of their games, and then they are on a 2-year ban from the WIAA playoffs. A 2-year ban. So here's my thing. If you're an athlete at that school, one of those two schools, what's going to stop you from going to a suburban school and going to play football, like for Franklin or Muskego or somebody like that? Why would you not? Because you're like, well, why would I stay and play at those schools when I can't be in the playoffs for 2 years? It's just a sad situation because NPS athletics are just not doing well right now. They're not going to get better by this.
I think I saw something online too that said they were like 2-20 in like the playoffs last 20 years. They've only got 2 wins.
No,
And that shows a lot worse.
It's like 2 in 120.
No, yeah, but it's still crazy though. I mean, only 2 wins.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure those 2 wins were against each other.
Yeah.
When they played each other. I mean, that's
going back to a matchup when we were students, like Oak Creek played Milwaukee Pulaski, and it was a 4-5 matchup. Believe that. Oak Creek was a 4, Milwaukee Pulaski was a 5. I think coming into that game, Pulaski really didn't have a chance, and they lost 49-0 in that game.
Yeah,
which
I mean,
is I don't know.
It's just a bad situation, unfortunately. I mean, there's nothing that we can do about it, but I think the punishment. I mean, the WI has their rules. I understand that. I mean, they say if you forget to turn your paperwork in, you got to get a 2-year ban. I mean, that is what it is. But the thing is, I like to see accountability be taken by the person who messed that up. Is saying, I'm sorry to the athletes. I'm sorry, I'll never do this again, or else I seriously didn't know I was supposed to turn in paperwork. Clearly, they knew that they were supposed to turn in paperwork because they've done it in the past.
I mean, all the schools have to do it, right?
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm pretty sure when Oak Creek moves to the Classic 8 next year, not for football, by the way, I don't want to trick somebody.
Everything else.
But everything else, they got to turn in paperwork and say, hey, we're moving. Well, the WIA knows that already, but just to certify the move, I think. I don't know how that all works, but just that the paperwork situation is you forgot to turn in paperwork. It's one of the things that you're probably trained when you take the job. Oh, yeah, if you guys decide to switch conferences, you got to turn in the paperwork. That didn't happen. None of that even came close to happening. The way it sounds. I mean, and now there's kids at Pulaski High School and Bayview High School in Milwaukee that they lost the rest of their football season. They're pretty much going to lose the next 2 years because you think about what's the point of playing regular season?
Yeah, there's no point of playing then.
Yeah, and you can't even make the playoffs. So you're just sitting there like, why even go out and win a game? Because they're like, if I win a game, we can't get the postseason anyways. Even if we went 9-0. And a lot of people talk about the other side of NPS with their seeding. The seeding there is, it's a problem. Like, for example, I think De Pere last year came down and played Rufus King or somebody. I forget what happened. They beat him 56-0. And yet Rufus King was the number 1 seed, De Pere was the 8th seed. So there's a lot of questions about that. But you just can't.
De Pere blew him out too, right?
You just can't completely throw NPS out of the playoffs and say, no, they can't make the playoffs at all. You can't do that. But
and you look at their opponents too; they are all pretty much just playing their teams in their city.
That's the problem. I mean,
it's the thing.
Just like the whole situation with Kimberly, always get stuck with that one MPS school canceling. Kimberly hasn't had a week 1 game in the last 2 years. That's just a crazy situation.
I think Kimberly needs to get one of the teams down here to go play him for a week 1 game.
Yeah,
Entertaining one.
Just drive up there and say, hey,
Yeah.
meet us up there. All right. So MPS, it's just a bad situation. Feel for those kids, man. I hope that things get better there overall. All right, let's move on to one of two last things we're going to talk about today. We're going to do some evaluations on our local teams here. Let me pull the bracket up and see where we're going to start.
Start in Division 7, right?
Yeah, let's start Division 7. We don't have many teams in Division 7.
It's just a couple.
Yeah. We only have two, and they're both playing each other, so it's perfect, technically.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. So we're going to start in Division 7 with Kenosha St. Joe's versus Kenosha Christian Life. The two Kenosha schools that made the postseason along with Bradford. There's two Kenosha teams that did not even make the playoffs this year, which was, well, I should talk higher divisions, Indian Trail and Bradford. Tremper. Tremper didn't win a game this year, and Indian Trail, I think, only won 3 or 4 games this year. And in conference, I think they only won 1 or 2. So it was a down year for the Hawks as well. But Kenosha St. Joseph, they seem like they're rolling in every sport right now. They were at the state baseball championship. They were in the state basketball championship. They're like rolling in every sport right now. In football, they could probably go to Camp Randall as well. I mean,
these two teams actually faced each other earlier in the year too, and their quarterback Zach Rizzo threw 10 of 14, 162 passing yards with 6 passing touchdowns. So this final score was Kenosha St. Joe's 49 and Kenosha Christian Life scored 13. So Zach Rizzo is going to be the name to watch out for in this matchup in Division 7.
Yeah, sounds like a crazy matchup. Sounds like a crazy
7 passing touchdowns, 6 passing.
When did that happen? Like week what?
Just a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
like 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow, they're playing each other within 2 weeks. I mean, that's dangerous for some teams.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
All right, let's move on. I think, let's see. I think Division 7 is our only team. Division 6, let's see. Anybody that has like the Kenosha, Milwaukee. I don't think we have anybody here. Nope. Division 5. We're going to have a couple. Yep. Let's see here. Let's start at the top here. Brookville Academy, Racine Lutheran. So we're going to talk about the field situation in Racine because it's going to be a mess coming up this Friday with all these teams at home. As most of you know, a lot of these schools play at Racine Horlick Field, which is not far from here, a little bit north of here, but we're in downtown Racine right now. So Racine Lutheran plays at home this week. So does St. Cat's and so does Horlick. So it's going to be an interesting week. But you got Brookville Academy coming there. Brookville Academy overall not a bad team this year. Racine Lutheran, I think they've grown a lot because I think last year they didn't have a good year, and I think they got a lot better since last year. I mean, this is not my
7-3, yeah.
They played 10 games. Wow, maybe there was a forfeit in there, I bet. So 7-3.
Big passing team too.
They're a big passing team.
And almost 2,000 passing yards for 26 touchdowns and just a little under 1,000 rushing yards.
Yeah, and Brookville Academy. I think they're in the Midwest Classic, if I'm wrong. I think that's a conference like St. Francis and all them. Brookville Academy was 8-2, so another 10-win team over there.
Going to be a dogfight. That's what the 5-4 matchups are for, though, dogfight matchups.
Brookville Academy comes off a win against Cudahy last week, 49-7. Yeah, let's just say Brookville Academy, other than St. Joe's, they won. And then I think they lost to University School as well at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And they forfeited against Dominican. They beat Dominican there. They beat Catholic Central, who also forfeited. Only fielded the JV team this year. So there was quite a few forfeits in the schedule as well.
Yep.
This is a good team here. This is a really good team that's really come alive this year. Milwaukee Academy of Science, you think of a school like a basketball school.
Yeah.
They are just on a roll. They were leading against Grafton 14-0 last week, and Grafton's one of the top teams in Division 3, I think.
How about this?
Yeah,
I'm looking on WISports for their stats this season. They finished MAS finished 9-1 on the year.
Yeah,
averaging 41 points per game, 2,000 passing yards, and almost 2,000 rushing yards on the year. That's crazy. You almost got 4,000 yards total for the whole season. I mean, that's like you can't really make too much out of it. I mean, a lot of people say, like you said earlier, MAS is mainly a basketball school, but I mean, when you get the talented guys, you could put together a string of good wins. With their only loss coming last week to Grafton. And how about this? They only lost to Grafton by 14. 42-28. It was a shootout in that game.
They were up by 14 in the first quarter. I think.
Shootout game.
I was at that fixed TV, whatchamacallit, that Red Zone show. I watched it back, and they went into the Grafton game early, and I'm like, oh, MAS is up by 14. I'm like, I quickly looked up the score. I'm like, did MAS end up winning? And then I'm like, and I saw Grafton.
I don't want to say that game was a surprise, but I mean, their season was a surprise, but I mean, it's a good one.
Let's keep strolling down here. One more, Lee Country Lutheran. They're in Heartland, not far from Arrowhead.
You got that one.
But a pretty good private school out that way. I think they play also in the Midwest Classic. Let's go back here. Let me just make sure I got some stats up for them here. Even if I'm using Max Preps just to see the records. 6-3, so it's all right season there. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I think a lot of teams would kill to be 6-3. They will play Watertown Lutheran Prep this week. They beat Martin Luther last week. Martin Luther is a pretty good team, 27-7. They had some good wins over the years, and they only lost to St. Cat's and St. Mary Springs and Lakeside Lutheran. St. Cat's is a heck of a football team.
We'll get to them in the Division 4.
Yeah, all right. Let's scroll out
I
here.
think that's it.
Let's make sure. Let me end the screen just so everyone doesn't say, hey, look at this matchup instead. All right, so that's Division 4.
Only got a few teams in 3 as well.
None on this side. This side.
Let's kick it off with the number 1 seed.
Boy, number 1 seeded.
Big year this year for. Let's wait to get
number
to
1 seed is going to be
the Angels.
The Angels of St. Catherine's. And they're going to be going against Shoreland Lutheran from Summers.
Oh.
So that's going to be a matchup pretty close to each other. I mean, so that makes sense. So one of them, they're playing at Bradford. I was like, because there's so many Racine teams in the playoffs this year. I'm like, some of them use Horlick, and Horlick's already being used, so is Pritchard.
Bradford's in, but they're not going to have a home game.
Yeah,
so
they're at Verona this week. So they're going to be playing at Bradford, Kenosha Bradford.
I mean, look at all the Racine schools, though.
Yeah.
St. Cat's plays at the Horlick Field, too, right? So, but Horlick has to play home game.
You know what's crazy, though?
What's up?
You think about it this way? Racine ran out of stadiums to play games at this week. Park doesn't have.
They could technically use Pritchard Park, too, though, right?
Well, Lutheran's playing at Pritchard. So then they don't have Horlick. So that's why they have to go to Kenosha. But imagine if Park would have made the playoffs. Oh, man. That'd probably been some games on Saturday.
This might be an interesting fact about Racine St. Cat's, but in their passing attack this year, they haven't thrown a single interception.
Oh, wow. They're doing pretty good.
Led by number 1 quarterback, Eddie Vinson, 929 passing yards on the year, 19 passing touchdowns, no interceptions.
Oh, wow.
So 9-0 year for the Angels.
All right.
Playing like Angels.
Right now, yeah, they are. Right now, they're playing pretty well. All right, let's give it a scroll down. Today's sponsored by Quick Trip, by the way. I'll stop sharing for now.
That's pretty much it.
Let's just talk about St. Francis real quick. St. Francis was a team that battled injuries this year a lot. They're heading out to Lake Mills this week. Don't have a lot of data on them, but they did pretty well to make the playoffs because for a while there, I think they had a forfeit game or two, and they were just not in a good spot. But St. Francis, here comes the college. No, I want Wisconsin. They went 3-6 and got in the playoffs. So, I mean, it's good turnaround. I knew they had not the best record, but
a lot of teams went that way.
I mean, yeah. So, okay, so that's how it looks on here. Lost to St. Thomas More, lost to Milwaukee Reagan week 1. Beat Cudahy, though. Cudahy was a team that bounced back as well this year. All right, I think that's all we have on this side. Let's head to Division 3.
We got a lot more. This is when we're going to get a lot more teams.
So you're telling me that I have to talk about more teams?
I think we could start off with the 1 seed on the bottom left.
Bottom left.
Bottom left.
Oh, yeah. And here's one question. Here's a team I got a question about. Why are they even in the playoffs? And I have no answer for that, obviously, because I'm not part of anything. But
Grafton played 10 games.
I think they had a forfeit against Shorewood Mesmer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shorewood Mesmer decided to end their season early. They've had a lot of problems over there with numbers in the program. But Grafton, just a heck of a team. I think they might be one of my picks to go back to Camp Randall. I mean, they've done pretty well this year. Played in the Woodland. They handled Greendale pretty well. They handled did they lose? Cedarburg. Oh,
they blew out Whitnell
Yeah, who's an up-and-coming team this year?
Wisconsin Lutheran, which was kind of a surprise this year, not even gonna lie.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
43-34, Grafton beat them. They blew out Greenfield. And then they had the MAS win, which they battled through.
Yeah. All right, so that's the number 1 seeded, Grafton Blackhawks, I think. Yep. And then Port Washington and Whitefish Bay. Port Washington was, I think, that's the team that Grafton took down on the way to state last year, and Grafton lost like 35-7 to them in the regular season last year. Then
They lost. What was I going to say? Grafton lost to Rice Lake at state, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And that was a good game too. Grafton came back in that
I had
game.
to think about that.
Whitefish Bay's had a couple down years. For a while there, they were, I think a couple of years ago, they were just ranked number 1 in Division 2 or Division 3.
Yep.
They were pretty good a year or two back. Okay, so here's what I really want to talk about. And this is going to surprise a lot of people, this game, I think. So Pewaukee, the number 7 seed, they got forced to play in the Classic 8 this year. Notre Dame, the number 2 seed, who is the number 1 team, I think, in Division 3 now. I think, this is just a bad matchup for both teams, in my opinion. I mean, Notre Dame, I think they could lose, and I think Pewaukee could lose because they're playing the best team in Division 1.
Notre Dame has the biggest high school prospect in the state, too. And I think it's he's an O-line or D-line guy. Not very familiar on it, but
Yeah.
that's what shapes up their team. But then Pewaukee, you know, I got a question for you. Do you think the game where Pewaukee played that team in Missouri counted to like their seed score? Because they beat them 36-18.
It would have counted as a 500 game probably, like the other team went 500. So the only problem is in football you play 9 games, so they probably would put them as 5-4, I would assume.
Yeah.
He is committed to Notre Dame. Oh, is that the kid from Catholic Memorial we're thinking about?
I was talking about this Missouri matchup.
Yeah.
This is Pewaukee.
Yeah.
You were talking about Notre Dame's guy, I thought you were saying.
No, that's one of the comments that he's committed to Notre Dame.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we're talking about the Catholic Memorial kid that committed to Notre Dame.
Yeah, we're thinking of somebody else, yeah. But, I don't know.
So many Notre Dames in our area. And there used to be a Notre Dame high school in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, oh my gosh. So many Notre Dames out there. But Pewaukee, I think they have just amount of the odds to win this game as Notre Dame. A lot of people are going to sit out there. Oh, James Flanagan. Oh, I remember hearing that name now.
You got some pretty good knowledge, Sports 101 Daily.
Yeah, so, I mean, Pewaukee and Notre Dame, they 50-50, I think, on this game.
Yeah.
I mean, Pewaukee has played through a tough conference, and Notre Dame, I mean, they didn't play they beat Kaukauna. So, I mean, this would be a fun game to watch.
That was a game on Zaleski earlier in the
Yeah.
year, too. Brendan Retzoff had that game on.
Yeah, that was a good game. All right.
Keep the train moving.
Oh, here we go. Here's one team that just got beat bad a couple weeks ago, but
Bounce back.
I think they're starting to bounce back. It's Catholic Memorial. They're playing New Berlin Eisenhower this week. New Berlin Eisenhower got in the playoffs. They did a pretty good job getting in. There's some questions about that. They just lost to New Berlin West last week, their rival.
Well, here's the thing about that game, though. So going into that game, they rested their star quarterback, MJ Mitchell, which was a little bit of a question for their seeding, but they still ended up getting a 1 seed, so it didn't matter anyways because how big their schedule was. But, hold on. Yeah, it was very interesting to see that choice by Bill Young. I mean, MJ Mitchell, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the state. He reminds me of a younger Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's pretty good. But yeah. I think Catholic Memorial will win this game. New Berlin Eisenhower had a better year than most would have thought they were going to have. They
played each other in a head-to-head matchup as they're in the same conference too, right?
Right. They're both in the Parkland.
And they played 2 to 3 weeks ago, and Catholic Memorial beat them 37-15 at New Berlin Eisenhower. But now they'll be playing it at Carroll.
So Eisenhower gets in as a 3-6 team as well. They had some losses. They lost to Wauwatosa West by 2. They lost to the up-and-coming Tulsa East team, 43-27. Whitnall, they lost to non-conference, 49-21. So, it's funny because Eisenhower started out 0-4. And they came back and was able to make the playoffs. That's pretty good, in my opinion. You didn't hang your heads too low, and you came back and made the playoffs there. Here's an up-and-coming team. Whitnall's heading to Reedsburg this week. The Whitnall Falcons, we saw them play last year, and it was against Greenfield. And Greenfield put 50, almost 60 points on them last year. But they beat Greenfield back this year. And Whitnall now
Greendale or Greenfield?
Remember we went to Greenfield last year? It was the Battle of Greenfield because they're both in Greenfield.
They also beat Greendale, too.
Yeah, they beat Greendale last week.
3.
Yeah, so Messmer forfeited against Whitnall. Greenfield, they beat 42-7. They beat Greendale by 3 last week. Yeah, this Woodnell team is going to be a dangerous team. I think Reedsburg, it's going to be a tough one. I think Reedsburg, I mean, if I recall, they're a little bit better this year too. I think they
5-2.
Yeah, they had their first 2 games canceled as well.
What happened?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is, so they had their first 2 games canceled. So they ended up going 5-2. So they didn't play two. So they just played in conference, I think, this
It's a
year.
pretty good finish.
Yeah. And then they lost 2 games. They lost to Onalaska, and then
Be a good 5-4 matchup to pay attention to.
yeah, and then
What 5-4 matchup are we not going to pay attention to?
yeah. Oh, okay, so here's a team that we saw earlier in the year, Waterford Wolverines. They started out like 0-4, I think.
Yeah, they had a really good bounce back.
Yeah, they're led by first-year head coach Brent Thowen, who we actually had
Former assistant with Lewis Brown at Franklin.
Yeah, so I mean, he had some good tutoring up there.
Yeah, good mentor. Week 1, I'll tell you, they didn't. We had some pretty good expectations going to watch them week 1 against Oak Creek, but they got blown out of the water
It's
there.
funny because I actually was picking Waterford to win that game at first because Waterford was a favorite in the Southern Lakes. They were favored to be
Second, right?
Yeah, I think like
behind the reigning D2 champs Badger.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one.
Well, they did beat good teams. They finished conference strong, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
New Berlin West versus Pius. So New Berlin West is definitely a good team this year. They played some pretty. I think they only lost 1 game.
Yeah.
And then Pius, I think they might be 3-6 as well. That snuck in, but there's probably going to be that 1 versus 8 win again this year. I feel like there's going to be that again. Who did that again? I think Chippewa Falls did that to Hudson last year.
What's up? 8 beating a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chippewa Falls did it to Hudson.
7-2. New Berlin West was. They got a 1 seed. Their 2 losses came to Catholic Memorial, 42-0, and then Wauwatosa East. So Wauwatosa East proven to be a very good football team as well this year. We're going to talk about them in a couple of minutes here. And New Berlin West, I think, will win this game, and then they'll meet the Greendale Panthers. Greendale, I think, in a way, they
just straight up,
just straight up did not.
Straight up telling them already that round 2 matchup. Yep.
I mean, Obama, if they could get a huge win, it probably makes school history. But Greendale actually had finished 5-4, which I actually thought they finished 6-3 or 7-2. But they had some losses down the stretch. Let's see here. They lost 3 games. They lost 3 games in a row. This could be dangerous in a way, though, for them.
Got a pretty good quarterback.
Oh, no, Obama finished 6-1. Well, the thing is, we probably have to look at who Obama played first of all.
Yep.
Let's see. So they lost 3 in a row to end the year, Greendale. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough one to come through, but I think they end up winning this one because I think Obama, the seed score, I think, is what got them up there. And they probably finished higher up in their conference. So I think Greendale wins that one.
Yep.
Let's see here. Moving down the list here. Wisconsin Lutheran versus Cudahy. I think Wisconsin Lutheran takes that one. Cudahy definitely had a bounce back year. For them to get in the playoffs, I think they're just proud of that. I mean, I think the last couple of years didn't even win a game hardly. So, I mean, to get in the playoffs and be able to play in round 1, I think it's just something fun for them. So I think Wisconsin Lutheran takes this one.
Yeah, Wisconsin Lutheran, man. Looking at their schedule this year, 6 or several of their games, they've scored over 30 points.
Wow.
So, they got a really good offensive attack. They go play Cudahy. I wouldn't be surprised if they make some noise. Not just the basketball school that now Duke standout Con Knipple, former Wisconsin Lutheran Mr. Basketball, off to college now.
Well, they had a pretty good baseball team as well last year, so they're growing athletic school. Martin Luther, I think, will take this one.
Yep.
So it'll be the meet. It's going to be a date with the Lutherans at Martin Luther round 2, heading to Greendale. And we were already on that side, so let's head to Division 2.
We got some stuff starting in that top right corner.
So we got defending 2 state champions.
Southern Lakes battle.
Badger and Union Grove. I think Badger takes that one. Badger done pretty good.
Yeah, they should take it.
Yeah, I think Union Grove's had some struggles, but for that they're getting back to the playoffs as well too. I think the Union Grove missed the playoffs the last year or 2 as well.
Badgers' 1 loss came to Slinger, right?
Here's one I'm excited to see the final result. That Burlington, who was projected 2-7 or 3-6 this year, gets into the playoffs. They were 5 or 6-0 at one point. They're heading to Racine Horlicks.
Same thing with
Right down
Racine
the street from
Horlicks.
here. Racine Horlick was like 1 or 2 wins as well last year. So, oh man,
Big name to watch out for. I'm assuming the game's going to be on the Racine Raiders, right?
Mhm.
And so big name to watch out for when you guys check that game out there. Senior running back Carson Fletcher. Oh my goodness. And that wing T offense, that dude's a beast.
Yeah.
I mean, he's showed off against all the conference teams. Even Franklin, he did pretty well. I mean, looking at his stats this year, I'm gonna go check his I'm just curious. I wanted to check his rushing stats. This year, Fletcher rushed for 1,400 rushing yards and 19 rushing touchdowns. So he basically carries most of their load on offense, and it'll be fun to watch here in this big 5-4 matchup in Racine County.
Mm-hmm. All right. So West Osha Central, a team that struggled a little bit this year, they will head to Milton in the Madison area. I think West Osha Central could possibly pull this out. I mean, they had some good games.
Very familiar with Milton.
Yeah, I mean, they had some good games this year. Milton had a good team as well, but I think West Osha Central could possibly do it here. They played close with a K-Skate team. I know that was week 1 a long time ago. It's a lot warmer back then, but I think they could play a close game there. I mean,
finished 4-5 too.
Elkhorn, a team as well,
yeah,
that you could watch out for. But I think Monroe will win this one. I think Monroe's got a pretty good football program this year. Elkhorn, they played in a Southern Lakes Conference. I think they battled actually with Badger for a little bit in that game. Like early on, I think Badger ended up winning by like 40, 50 some points. But Elkhorn could stay consistent early. They could have a chance in this game right here.
How about this number 1 seed coming up?
Oh yeah, Slinger. Let's talk about the Slinger Owls. I mean, we saw
Perfect.
them. We saw them last year. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the Slinger baseball tweet that came through. The trick play they ran for 2 against Homestead to win the conference. They almost lost that game. They were this close to losing that game. And Brookfield Central team in the Greater Metro, that's scary though too, because they play in the Greater Metro. That's a really good conference as well.
They're a dark horse team to watch. Slinger too, because they didn't just beat Homestead, they beat the reigning D2 champions in Badger 35-33. That game came down to the wire too, from what we're seeing, right? Can't remember. Did the WSS Sports have that game?
Yeah, Slinger has been a powerhouse this yeyear. I will agree. Yeah. They have been a good powerhouse this year.
The Battle of the Tosas.
Oh, wow. Both Tosas are playing each other. I forgot about
5-4 matchup with the Tosas.
So Wauwatosa West and Wauwatosa East. I think Tosa East takes this one. Tosa West, I think, will play them well. But Tosa East, just talk about the incredible run they've had this year. They took down Catholic Memorial this year. They did a lot of things this year that surprised a lot of people.
Got to give shout out to head coach Tom Swiddle.
Yeah, he came back.
Tosa East, came back and blew out Bill Young and overpowered him.
Yeah.
He's one of the best coaches in the country.
So Homestead and Hartford. Homestead, I think, takes this one. Hartford had a little bit – originally they were projected to play Racine Horlick. I think Hartford is going to give them a fight. Definitely. Hartford's not a program that's horrible. Like, they're not going to sit there and lose 60 or 70 to nothing. They're going to sit there and give a Hartford Homestead a fight at the beginning. But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of defense Homestead has this week. Against Slinger, they had a pretty good defense early on. But Slinger was able to get in the groove of things. And their offense isn't bad as well, Homestead's. I mean, I haven't been able to watch them a lot this year, just like Hartford. All right, here's a team that we saw last week. And we talked about this being like in our earlier segment about them not maybe getting the right seed. But Germantown, Cedarburg, this is dangerous for Cedarburg. This is dangerous for Germantown. Kind of similar to the other game I talked about earlier. Germantown, I mean, they lost to Hamilton last week. Cedarburg is a really good team. I think Cedarburg ends up winning this one. But I think it's going to be close. It's going to be closer than most 7-2 games are in this state. I bet it ends up maybe, I bet like maybe 34-30 or something.
I don't want to take a shade at Germantown or any of this, but wait, hold on. They played a really good Sussex Hamilton team last week, and we came into that game. Hamilton was projected as a 7 seed, right? Before that game, they came out and fought hard. And I'll tell you, Germantown just looked like they were playing a little scared.
Yeah,
they were making a lot of big miscues, a big fumble. They threw an interception right into the hands of one of the Hamilton D linemen that really changed the momentum in that third quarter. And just miscues are going to kill you in these scenarios.
All right, so we're going to go to Division 1 now. Main division, we're going to
a lot of teams here.
Our game of the week is going to be last because we're going to. So
well, let's start on the bottom left. Actually, we'll get to that last with
So
the reigning D1 champions.
Oconomowoc and Racine Case will be our last game we'll talk about.
We'll give a rundown too.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Division I state champions from last year. Marquette, first of all, we got let's just say a matchup that they should be able to handle pretty well coming in.
Obviously.
Well, I don't want to diss any Milwaukee.
Well,
schools.
I know, but still.
But Marquette, I think, moves on. And they, like a lot of people say, they have a lot easier side of the bracket than a lot of the other Division I teams have. So they should be able to move on here.
The only team they would really have troubles with would be Bayport, but I mean,
And Milwaukee
beat
King
'em.
heads up to De Pere. I think De Pere will win this one. This is, I think, it's a matchup from last year. But
it was a 1-8 matchup with
Yeah.
De Pere being the 8 seed, and
So-
they won.
De Pere gets the home game this year between these two. De Pere is a definitely improved football team, in my opinion. They almost beat Bayport. So they took a last-minute field goal for Bayport to win. So I think De Pere wins that one. Milwaukee Reagan against Sheboygan North. I think Milwaukee Reagan's got a legitimate shot in this game.
One of the better MPS schools.
Yeah, they're one of the top MPS scores. Sheboygan North. Let's see how they did this year. They had 6-3, so not a bad record, but it's going to be an interesting one. Let's see what kind of wins and losses they had here.
I think we're good.
All right, so they lost to Notre Dame Academy, so 35-14. That's a good team, though. So
Yeah.
and they lost to Oshkosh North. So Oshkosh North was, and they lost. Well, say those two. There's three, and Menasha. Okay, so that's 3 teams under they lost to. So I mean, I think this game's going to be a good one. Sheboygan North, I don't think is going to blow away Milwaukee Reagan, but in a way, I think Sheboygan North will still win. But Milwaukee Reagan, you never know. You come out and play a good game, you can move on. They probably have the best chance of any MPS school, probably to move on. So Milwaukee Bradley Tech versus Milwaukee Arts. Milwaukee, no, they're combined versus
Yeah.
Bayport. Bayport moves on.
Bayport's going to be the team that I think would challenge Marquette the
Yeah.
most, if anything, with them going against teams like Kimberly this year, their conference up north in the Green Bay area. Bayport, they've always been a pretty good storied team.
All right.
We'll see how it goes.
So we'll head over to the Sabres. Fond du Lac versus Franklin. Well, Fond du Lac plays in the FVA, so I mean, they might give Franklin a little troubles at the beginning, but
Franklin's going to come out still, obviously.
Franklin will win. I think they'll win. They won't blow them out 60-0 like other 8s and 1s will, but they'll probably win by a big margin, in my opinion.
I think something that the Sabres do really good every year is they're able to develop quarterbacks. They're able to sustain a good defense. I mean, their defense has been freaking amazing this year, given that they're in the Southeast Conference, but they played a good Catholic Memorial team this year that they put up pretty good points on. That was probably one of the games of the year against Catholic Memorial. Joey Killet, MJ Mitchell, two of the top quarterbacks in the state have been going crazy.
Yeah, all right. Moving on here, Oak Creek versus Muskego. I think Muskego takes this one. Oak Creek.
Yeah.
Muskego is more healthy now. I think if Muskego weren't healthy, it'd be a different story.
Jack Labish is back in the team now in their wing T offense, and they also got guys like is it Nemec? I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Jackson Nemec, I think it was. And they got a new quarterback, Liam Shaw, this year as well. But Muskego took handles of Oak Creek. These two met earlier this year at Oak Creek. Muskego got the best of them, 28-10. That was a pretty interesting game. Oak Creek was up 10-7 at the end of the third quarter, but then it just seemed like they couldn't finish. Both teams, keep in mind, were healthy at that game too. But Oak Creek losing their star captain, O-line, and D lineman Kevin Wojciechowski to torn ACL, so that's probably going to bite him in this game.
Yeah, Joey Shaw's done a pretty good job over there at Muskego as a quarterback. And then Liam Shaw, his brother on defense, he was our highlight house player of the game early in the year. So he's been a big part of that defense. Nina versus Milwaukee Hamilton. I think Nina takes this one. And you possibly could see Nina on level 3, in my opinion. They got to go maybe meet Kimberly, but Kimberly could lose to Appleton North. Kimberly, keep in mind, only beat Appleton North by 1 point. Playing the same team 2 weeks in a row can sometimes be dangerous.
Got a really good running back, Grant Dean.
And then we got Kenosha Bradford and Verona here. Verona takes this one. They're a really good team. I think you could possibly – that's going to be good. You see them possibly playing – they're on the other side. So they'd be possibly playing McWanago level 3. That's going to be a good matchup that we could potentially see down there. So I think Verona takes this one. Kenosha Bradford, I mean, they're a young team. They do have speed, but Verona has speed as well.
Got a really good defender, one of the top players in the state, cornerback, was it Trey Poteet?
Mhm.
And he's been really good as well. So they've been a really good defensive team all year.
Here's
Big matchup here.
Here's a good game. Hamilton versus Arrowhead. This is a tough one, but I think Oh, man.
You're going to try to predict it. I'm not. I'm just going to say 50-50.
I'm going to say 50-50 in this one. I don't think I can pick a winner in this one. I think it's going to end up coming out whoever has a better offense.
I'll tell you what. We called Sussex Hamilton versus Germantown last week. Chaz Powell, quarterback, is the real deal for that team.
Yeah.
You know, he showed off last week, throwing for 5 touchdowns against a really good Germantown defense. And Arrowhead, though, Vance Holtz, senior now too, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a really big match, but I think this is going to be a shootout game, and it's not going to be a big defensive game.
All right. Moving on here, we're going to skip this game because this is our game of the week on the broadcast, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Janesville Craig versus McWanago. McWanago, I think, is going to take this one. McWanago, I think we can possibly see them even in level 3. They play the winner of our game of the week. But our game of the week is going to be no joke. McWanago, pretty good with Radabicki over there. They struggled. They lost to Marquette, but that was a shootout. That was a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be.
Yeah, McWanago, Coach Ganevok has done a really good job the last couple of years here, just restocking the team after a really good year from when staying. And just being able to keep the consistency going in that Classic 8. That's what you notice about all these coaches in the Classic 8, right? Yeah. Being able to sustain their records and strength of teams. Anyways.
All right, that's all. Yes, that's all. Okay. All right. Let's scroll into our final one. Let's get that nice old graphic up.
Big game.
And Radabicki was hurt versus Marquette. I wasn't following that game, so I really didn't know. So this is our broadcasted game this week. Oconomowoc versus Racine Cases. Game that we're happy that we wound up with. We were pretty shocked because we thought Muskego versus Oak Creek was probably going to be our shoe and being with 2 schools all year. But it's going to be exciting to go to Racine Case this week because that's a very new field down there. And
team is up and coming.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good team down there. Oconomowoc won the Classic 8. They are sitting as a 6th seed.
Still disagree with it. I'm fine coming out saying that, right? I mean,
oh man, that's just bad.
I mean, you got to agree with me on that too. That they should have been.
That's bad. I mean, how do you give them a 6th seed?
Like, no offense, they shouldn't have been lower than Muskego.
Yeah, and then Racine Case, I mean, they're second. That team's. There's a lot of people out there right now. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, Racine Case, I mean, we'll talk about them a little bit here. They have a really good and upcoming team led by head coach Anton Graham, and I believe his 3rd year.
Yeah, something like that.
3rd year, but he's done a phenomenal job. Last year, they went to the 2nd round for the first time. That was their first playoff win in history. How about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of people out there.
They were even holding their own against Muskego last year too. So Racine Case, they're losing. The key thing about that matchup, they don't have star running back DeAndre. I forget Anthony Lincoln. Sorry, he's a junior, so he'll be back next year. But he tore his ACL early in the year, tragically. But this Racine Case team, we've seen them a lot this year. They first time 18 years to beat Oak Creek, shows they're on the right coming. So we'll see how this match plays up. I think it's one of the biggest games in the Milwaukee area. That's why we have it.
There's a lot of people out there that are thinking that Oconomowoc going to come in there and blow it off. No. Racine Case, we've watched them. They're a good team.
Also got a really good quarterback in Leo Chiappetta.
That Racine Case team has speed. And
yeah.
The speed kills a lot of teams that don't have. So if you have a lot of guys coming in, Racine Case likes to rush the edges a lot. So they're going to put a lot of pressure.
Remind me of that Minnesota Vikings defense, loving to bring the blitz. And
yeah, they bring the blitz.
Also got a really good wide receiver in Michael Farr as well. Those two were really good in to seal the deal in that Case Oak Creek game earlier when we had them.
So yeah, these are 2 really good teams going at. You can watch the game live on Zaleski Sports, 7 p.m. on Friday night. For free. Not many things are for free nowadays.
Just click the link on Friday.
Just click the link. Twitter, YouTube, find it wherever you need to. Yep. So Oconomowoc, man, if I had to predict the winner right now,
I'm not going to predict it since it's our. I mean, it's a 50-50 again. I mean, I can't say too much on it.
I mean, Oconomowoc, I mean, there's a chance. I mean, if Racine, the thing is about Oconomowoc is they don't have a lot of playoff experience either because they haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years. Racine Case technically has more playoff experience out of the 2. But Oconomowoc plays through the Classic 8. Yep. And Racine Case is at a disadvantage because they play in the Southeast.
Not wrong.
I mean, the Southeast, man, it's just
up and coming. These 2 teams are. This is a future matchup.
Southeast can be a good conference in a couple of years.
But then you look at the winner of this matchup, they are going to have to go face McWanago next week, which is going to be like, whoa.
Well, I mean, it's
Oconomowoc played them
if Racine Case gets out of this game, I think they will challenge McWanago because that means they just beat one Classic 18. But keep in mind, McWanago beat Ocon by like almost.
Some people may call me crazy for this, but Racine Case is my sleeper team to go to state this year. But mean, they got the talent.
Yeah, they got the talent. It's going to be interesting. Anyways,
Wrap it up here.
we're going to wrap it up here. It's been a fun afternoon.
Fun hour on the dot
Hour on the dot.
on the show.
And we didn't actually plan to be on here an hour.
And we were supposed to get on at 1 exactly, but
Okay, so it's been a beautiful afternoon. You got plenty of football games coming up this Friday.
make sure to tune in on Zaleski Sports all over the state. We're the only game in the Milwaukee area, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
There might be some on ESPN Milwaukee for Catholic Memorial, but other than that, yeah, we're pretty much on the game.
Yep. Thank you guys for joining us on our predictions.
We'll try to do this weekly. Maybe it depends on how much time we have. Anyways, have a good week, everybody, and we'll
see y'all Friday.
See y'all Friday. Let's send us out here.